Hey everybody, my name is Dave Karger. I'm from Turner Classic Movies. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome everyone here in person in Los Angeles and all of you who have just seen 13 Lives around the country, as well as in London and in Amsterdam. So happy to have a worldwide audience watching this today. I have the pleasure of introducing you all to 6 members of the cast and crew who brought this riveting film to the screen, so please help me welcome them, starting off with the director of the film, also one of the producers, Ron Howard. Great to see you. From the cast, please welcome Viggo Mortensen. Also joining us is a technical advisor on the film, the real-life hero you just saw Viggo portray in the film, Rick Stanton. And 3 other members of this fantastic cast. Please welcome Tom Bateman. Also joining us, Ploy Patricorn. And Pooh Sahajak. So nice to be with all of you. I'm going to kick it off with a couple questions, and then audience members from around the world have been submitting questions for you as well, so we'll get to those. Ron, this is a really interesting film for you to tackle because you had to be aware of so many different audiences who were going to see this film, not just Western and Eastern audiences, but people who knew every intricacy of the story and people who didn't, people who had seen the documentary and people who hadn't. How did all of that factor into how you planned it, how you directed it, how the post-production went, keeping in mind all these different people that were going to see it?
First of all, I didn't develop this screenplay. It came to me. Bill Nicholson had written it. Producers had gotten out in front and launched it. And while the movie didn't have a home, it also didn't have a director. And I had this chance to read it, and I really said yes very quickly, even though I could recognize some daunting challenges. The degree of difficulty was high on this one. Not so much the diving. Over the years, I've developed enough confidence, whether it's race cars or zero gravity or that fires and backdraft. We could create those environments. I can find the way with the right kind of support. But it really was twofold. It was the cultural diversity. I knew that we had to get that right, and I also knew that was going to depend on a lot of trust on my part, and really deputizing people to collaborate in a really significant and important way. But I was excited about that. Scared and excited, but the excitement won out. And the other thing was the fact that the story was so recent. And while in the screenplay, I was reading about things that I had not known, and I found that fascinating. And as soon as I verified them, it only deepened my excitement for what it could be, as a movie, and that it could have twists and turns. However, I also realized there were already documentaries, there were more documentaries on the way, there are other versions and so forth, and I felt like, well, I'm going to have to direct this and stage it in a way that I assume everybody actually does know just about everything. And what does that boil down to? It really, to me, it boiled down to the human interest side of it and relating to and understanding the characters and the different brands of courage and heroism that were demonstrated beyond even the epicenter of it, which was the divers and that hands-on rescue. But here's what it really boils down to for me, and of course this is my inclination anyway: acting. This is what no other format is going to give you, or is that interpretation of what it is like to go through this. It's a story like this is a kind of a pressure test, and I thought if we spread those tests around throughout the ensemble and construct them properly so the audience is keeping track of what's at stake for the various characters, and in addition to the overarching drama, then it could be something that would really grab attention and do that thing that I love more than anything else in the world, which is to guide really talented actors through interesting, nuanced moments.
Viggo, when you think back to the time spent talking to Rick, observing him, was there something that was particularly valuable? And Tom, I'm going to ask you the same question in regards to Chris, who you play. Was there something particularly valuable that you gleaned from that personal experience that maybe wasn't necessarily in the script, that you only would have been able to pick up on by having time to talk to him and watch it?
It wasn't in the script.
You have a mic?
I mean, that wasn't in the script. I'm not sure. I mean, I thought immediately of something that actually is in the script. I mean, we spent countless hours, fortunately, before shooting, talking via Zoom, and he even turned me on to some guys who do cave diving, and his friends taught how to do it in the north of Spain, so I got a little experience, but his...
We're kind of blowing by that. Without telling anybody, he went cave diving.
Yeah.
So, okay.
but it was helpful. I was scared and got over that, and then so got to Australia. It gave me a little bit of a leg up. But we were all put into a situation where we had to be, you always want to pay attention and get the details right. I was lucky to have Rick there in the water and out of the water in terms of the equipment and how he talks, how he walks, how he moves in the water. But we were all, and so as actors, we were all paying a lot of attention, I think, to all the details. We wanted to get it right for our characters. But we also wanted to survive the experience, So it's like, we better really pay attention because they kept saying, well, you can drown very quickly. Like how quickly? It's seconds. I'm like, okay, we don't want to do that. So we paid a lot of attention, and it was invaluable, all of that. And there was something that he said several times in different ways, and it is in the movie, where he said, if I don't think I'm coming out, I'm not going in. And it's just this it seems like almost cold, or, it's very direct, as Rick usually is, but it just makes sense. It's like, don't endanger yourself and others by trying something that you really believe is not possible. So each day, each movement they make, they have to make that decision. Can I go further or not, safely? For my sake and for the sake of others. And so that was crucial. But I think there was the pressure of getting it right and being safe and all that. But I think we were all thinking about the real story, in which there are no lead actors, just like in this movie. It's all supporting actors, and it's a massive cast, right? Including all of us here and everybody else you see on screen. And it represents, we're constantly thinking about the real. Obviously, those from Thailand, it was especially close to them and wanting to get it right, this event, important event that took place there. But for all of us, this massive act of selfless volunteerism that took place, we wanted to honor that, get it as right as possible. And I have to say that on our shoot, I've never seen so little complaining about, the coffee, nobody complained about everything. It's like you always had in mind what you were representing, what had happened, and how important that is today. The world is conflicted, and sometimes people reward by money, by attention, by voting for them, greed, selfish behavior, lying, territorial ambitions. It's like nobody did this. Nobody. Thousands of people got together from all different cultures and countries, not to make money, not to get elected, not to get anything, because it was the right thing to do. So we were always conscious of the fact that this is the best of us. This is the best part of human beings, what they're capable of. So that was the overriding thing, always.
I just got to jump in and just say a couple of the contributions that Viggo made that leap to mind. They're a little surprising. First was early on in prep. He said, I really think you need a scene once the kids have been discovered, I think you need another scene where they're alone and we can see them in that darkness. And I had been looking for an opportunity to try to demonstrate the way the coach could, taught the kids, and not just hear about it in a line of dialogue, how to meditate and so forth. And it came together, but it was at Vigo's instigation, and so it had nothing to do with his character, but it was the movie, and again, that's kind of the spirit. The other thing was that with the diving actors, after they'd worked with Rick and Jason Mallinson, who's not here, for a while, who was another technical advisor, and you know, from the actual rescue. Vigo came to me first and said, you know, he told me something I knew, which is this cave diving is very specific, technically, much different than open water scuba diving. And he said, now that we've absorbed it and we can do it safely, I don't want a double. I don't want stunt people doing it. You know, I want to do it. It's a part of my character. And all the other cast members agreed with that. And I thought, well, you know, logistically that's just impossible. But they made it possible by extending their, you know, ignoring days off, working extra hours, showing up, and just making it, you know, logistically feasible for us to actually have them do all the diving. And ultimately, that's what happened. And it makes all the difference to me as a director, and I think it means a lot to the audience to see the tension of seeing these shots unfold and then recognizing, you know, these are our guys.
Tom, what about you? What did you learn most significantly from Chris himself?
Well, echoing what Vigo said, really trying to